Welcome to Synchronous Online Teaching Strategies for Educators. My name is Theresa Wills. I'm an assistant professor out of George Mason University. I have been teaching synchronously for 10 years. It is my preferred method of teaching, and every year I actually teach two sections of the exact same course, one face-to-face and one synchronously online, just to make sure that I'm using the same pedagogical strategies that I use in a face-to-face class in an online class. And that kind of promotes my own personal learning and growth. So I'm here to share with you the variety of tips, secrets, and hopefully no longer secrets, hopefully they get shared out, about how to engage students by doing the same pedagogical practices you're already doing. So let's go ahead and get started. Blackboard Collaborate, I have been posting the link to today's slides. I do this frequently at the beginning of class for my students also. And you are in a fully editable Google slide. On slide 2, if you are trying to figure out if this works for you, these are some things that I received after just one semester working with a cohort. So if you're wondering, can I make it engaging? I've got a little testimonial here. Sometimes it's useful for talking with administrators or peer teachers about, could this work? So that's for you to use however you like. And on slide 3, you'll notice my goal for you, it's very simple. Do what you're already doing. Include your great pedagogical practices. Just do it online, and I'm here to teach you how to do that. Our agenda is on slide 4, and I'd like to start by explaining the first teaching tip. If you look on your Google Slides, on the left-hand side where you probably see like 6 or 8 of them in a long column, everyone has their own avatar, little circle bubble, and you'll watch those move along the slides. I use that for a lot of accountability and for my own sense of where are my students right now? What slides are they on? Am I moving too fast or am I going too slow? And that can kind of help me. So our agenda is here. I am trying to make YouTube videos on really the simple practice of how to do this, something that you all can share with other teachers, learners, faculty, staff at your schools. And if you have more questions and you want other videos, just let me know and I will do my best to get them out there. You'll notice the very first thing on here is hashtag virtual parking lot. And that is the #1 time saver and continuous engagement strategy that I have to show you. So come on down to the very last slide in the slideshow, please. Right now it is number 40, but we will probably have more slides today. So you'll notice there's already 4 slides above it, a virtual parking lot. These are questions that people wrote me in the Google form initially or from previous sessions. And there is a blank slide on slide 40. This is where you put your questions so that it does not distract from the lesson and the objectives that we're doing during a specific activity. These are open, so anyone can answer them. And it does help with the flow of your lesson. Because I don't know about you all, but sometimes I've been in the middle of a really great lesson. I think someone just raised their hand because they're going to say this mind-blowing aha moment, and instead they say, when's our homework due? And it totally derails the class. So by doing virtual parking lot and making that a norm, students can put those important questions there, and then I get back to them. All right, so we're going to continue with our slideshow, and I'm going to ask you to come on back up on slide 5. Slide 5. If you are still down in the virtual parking lot, that is just fine. You can come up and join us whenever you're ready. Slide 5 is our ground rules. These are the ground rules that I use with my students. You can create your own ground rules, but make sure you say them so that students understand the importance. So make sure you put away all your distractions. You will be engaged today, and you'll want to make sure that you have your full attention. We are recording, and so reduce or eliminate your background noise. For those of you in this session, we are recording, and I will release this publicly on YouTube to support other learners. Make sure you do any readings before class. I'm going to ask you to use your microphones in small groups, and then I'll have some folks share out in the whole group as well. Be patient and professional. Use your away message whenever you're away from your keyboard. Don't drive while on Collaborate Ultra. And update your profile picture as often as you can. This is just a little tip from me that in Blackboard, I don't use video. I use just photos in the instead of your silhouette. And I ask my students to, if they want in the first class, use something professional. But otherwise, you can make it very silly. You can make it very light. And that actually lets us build a classroom community better than having this sterile professional photo. So here's one of me today with my daughter. I try to make sure I made time to play games with her now that school is closed. And so we're playing Connect 4. Come on down to slide 6. I always start classes with successes and celebrations. This is actually typically slide number 2. And I ask if you're here early or even right now, tell us what we're celebrating for you. It could be small, it could be huge. It could be in your professional life or your personal lives. If you have photos, feel free to add them here as well. So go ahead and actually do that. Grab a text box or one of those placeholders that I put up there and tell us what is great that's happening in your lives. Oh, I love that someone is talking about their baby. Would you mind, whoever that is, turn on your microphone. Tell us how old is your baby and what's so awesome about crawling.
Hey, can you hear me?
We can hear you perfectly.
Awesome. This is Sarah from Arlington, and I appreciate you having this session. We're doing a lot of crazy corona craziness prep, so this is great. Baby is 10 months. He is a slow learner for crawling, apparently, but he's very happy, and now he's into everything.
Awesome. Wonderful to hear that. All right, who's got their full cup of coffee? Can you turn on your mic and tell us how do you take your coffee and why does that make you happy today? Someone also.
Okay.
Oh, we
Thank
can
you
hear
for your
you.
patience. Sorry.
Go ahead. We
I
can
had
hear
to
you.
get to the microphone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
So I love my coffee black. This is Darcy from Arlington. Hi, Sarah. I know you. So yeah, I'm happy to have my coffee and I'm excited to learn about this process. Thank you for doing this.
You're welcome. And we'll take one more here. Who is very proud of their students during this challenging time? And tell us a little bit about what you're so proud of your students for doing.
Hi, can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, this is Whitney Webb and Trent Jones. We are at Bishop O'Connell High School in Arlington, Virginia, and we're just so proud of our students who are really being accommodating and joyful and wonderful at a time when there's a lot going on. So it's been really nice.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing. It's always amazing how educators can bring the good out of just about anything, and your story there just inspired me. So as you can see, the successes and celebrations mimic things like a morning meeting, and it is great for students to be able to type on the screen something good that's happening with them. And as a teacher, you can actually preview all these wonderful things first. And if you only have time to, let's say, have 3 students talk about it, you can pick the ones that are going to give you the most bang for your buck. Either they're really incredible events that need to be shared, they're great for networking, which is really a big deal with educators, or it's a student who might not have had a voice in your classroom, but now they're speaking up here. So use your pedagogical strategies to figure out who to choose, but this can help you figure out who to pick. All right, folks, on slide 7, and those of you who just came in, I'm going to paste again the link for the slides in case you don't have it. And we are on slide 7. This is a slide that I use with my program. I teach math specialists and math coaches who want the endorsement in math specialists, so you'll see a lot of math things in here. In our program, we teach both leadership courses, which are rich in discussion, and we teach math courses, which are really rich in representations, formulas, things like that. So we kind of see the best of both worlds. And I always put up social media and conferencing just so that they can stay in touch. And I'm going to ask you on slide 8 to do the same thing. If you know of conferences or social media hashtags or groups that we should be aware of because, gosh, we're in a community where we need access quickly, please go ahead and put them on here. You can make your own text box or you can use the text boxes that I've inserted. I know social media recently has been adding a lot. So again, educators are always there for each other, and that's pretty awesome. You'll also notice today that I give double or even triple wait time. Part of it is I don't have the visual cues of looking into your eyes and knowing if you're ready to move on. One strategy that I do just to kind of check in with that is I'll say, if you are ready to move on, come on down to slide 9, and I'll just watch those avatars move and give me direction about when to start. Our next specific strategy is on slide 9. So if you're just coming in, if you're new to us, come on down to slide 9 in that link. And this is an example of a strategy called Own a Space, where you literally make text boxes on a slide, and it gives students access to have their own personal space and their own voice to be heard in this synchronous class. So please take a text box, one of those green boxes. If someone else grabs it, just move to another one. And tell us, what do you teach or what do you want to teach? Some tips that I found with making these Own a Space slides is if you want students to elaborate, simply giving them a big chunk of space, in other words, making that text box very large, they kind of get the message that I should write more. When it's a really tiny one like you have right now, they start to write less. So it's kind of a cool little intuitive way of getting students to write the amount that you want them to write. And on this Own a Space here, I'm looking at getting 18 different answers super quickly. I can scan those, and that will inform my instruction for what I teach later on. So anytime you're doing something where you're trying to gather initial thoughts, initial understandings, or maybe summarizing thoughts from a whole class at once, this is a great strategy. And if you need to, you can always just duplicate the slide and have two of the slides of the same information so more students can have a voice. So in this case, we have the same thing on slide 9 and 10. This is very helpful for me, and when you're ready, you can move to slide 11 and we'll talk about our next strategy. So one of my favorite things to do in a math class is play Which One Doesn't Belong? But I know it's not math specific, and people use that strategy for everything. I think Sesame Street even had a song, one of these things is not like the other. But in this case, I use stars for the activity of which one does belong. So if you would please copy and paste that star to the quadrant that best describes how you're feeling right now. I encourage you to have fun with your stars. You can resize them, recolor them. And what I'm purposely doing right now is trying to give students the feeling of ownership of the slides. They're not necessarily my slides, they're our class slides. You get to interact with them also. And on slide 12, this is where I want to hear more. I want them to elaborate. So please take a text box, insert it on top of the image that you select, and justify your reasoning. Why did you select that image? Throughout today's presentation, if you find that you need additional tech support, like how do I make a text box? How do I move things? How do I copy paste them? Feel free to give me feedback like that. It's really useful to know. I find that just immersing students right in it, that's what I do in my program. But I also make a pledge to be patient and calm no matter what your tech question is. And I find that that differentiates it enough. Wami, go ahead.
How do I create a text box? I'm sorry. I missed that part in the beginning.
Yeah, no worries. I hadn't said it yet because I'm kind of looking at the tech that's happening. All right, do you see the picture of the kind of very stressed out man on the slide? Up above his head, you'll find a ruler. And if you go up a little bit more, you'll see a bunch of tools that Google Slides has to offer. The text box is about the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th tool to over, and it looks like a T and a square. You click that and you post that on the page and you just start typing. All right, so Wami just showed us how to use the raise hand feature, but I would love to hear from you all as well. You can either turn on your microphone, or if you want to get in queue, you can use the raise hand feature, which is next to the microphone, and tell us how could you use this strategy, the 4 quadrants, where you pick your favorite and you justify your reasoning. How could you use that in your content area? Darcy, go ahead.
Yes, I teach English learners. I was just thinking about, I could have 4 examples for grammar reasons, 4 sentences, and then students would need to choose which of the 4 they think is the correct answer. That might be one way to use it. I'm not sure if that's what you're thinking, but that's sort of a way to tie it to the content. So.
Absolutely. So this can kind of work similar to a multiple choice questionnaire. And on the next slide, instead of just getting the answer A, B, C, or D, you get their reasoning, and that's where they can learn from each other and get a chance to have a voice. Adrian, go ahead. Adrian, you can go ahead and turn on your microphone. Tell us what you were thinking. We can't hear you yet, but if you have an idea. Oh, I hear you now. Go ahead.
Apologize. I just love this as just a general idea for teaching, whether distance learning or not, to put this slide up and have kids reply to a small bit of text that they've read. Since I'm a Latin teacher, how are they responding to the story? What do they think a character is? Very useful.
I love the way you applied that to your content area. Thank you for sharing. We've also seen this in science with specific diagrams that students are using. And in slide 13 and 14, I'll show you how I do it in math. I just put up 4 numbers, and I ask them which one doesn't belong. You'll notice this one has the little doesn't belong symbol instead of the star. And students will kind of put these all over the place. And then on slide 14 is an example of their reasoning and why they decided that one doesn't belong. The power in this activity is really the students' justifications that they have a voice. They're not just picking A, B, C, or D. They're putting it out there and it's becoming public in their class. So let's take a look at another onus space strategy. This one is on slide 15, and I call it a tweet board for kind of obvious reasons. But on this slide, if you would please put a text box and put one thing that you know about the coronavirus. If you know 2 things or more, please put 2 or more text boxes. We want just one topic per text box because we're going to move these around. So what do you know? So I'm hoping everyone in here can add at least 1, if not 2 or 3 things that you know. In full disclosure, it's because that's going to set us up for the next activity. If someone else picked the idea that you had, you're like, oh, I was going to do that too. You can always highlight their thing and turn it into bold. That's a norm that we just developed in one of my classes to show that connection. A lot of times in our elementary schools, we have a little connection symbol that students will make when someone else says something that they agree with, and we just bold it on this site. kids a little quieter, please, okay? All right, that should be enough things to get us started here. Um, so frequently in classrooms, teachers use this pedagogical strategy called a sort. Sometimes there's an open sort where students don't know how to categorize them, they're just kind of categorizing them together. Sometimes it's a closed sort where teachers will give them titles for their categories. So in this case, I'm going to give you all a chance to work in a small breakout room in an open sort fashion. So you'll notice I'm about to duplicate some slides. So we are having a new slide 17, 18, and 19. And this is for our next activity. And I'm going to go ahead and call them group 1, 2, and 3. Usually my students do this for me after they have been in at least one class because they get that they have the ownership to do it. And I'm going to place you in a breakout room in just a minute. It's going to automatically happen for you. I am recording my screen so you'll be able to see how I do this after our session. But I'm going to create a breakout room and I'm going to randomly assign. So I'm going to have 3 groups. Once it puts you in your breakout room, I'm going to ask that you please turn on your microphone. 4 of you will have your microphone on at the same time and talk to each other about how you're choosing to cluster these. So you'll literally move the text boxes around and start to cluster them into different categories and see if you can title those categories as well. Here we go. At this point, I'm looking in at the different breakout rooms that I have, and I'm looking to see who has their microphone on. Some groups will be delayed with their microphone, and that gives me kind of guidance as an educator about which rooms to go into and give support. I also am noticing that room 1 is having some connectivity issues, so I'm probably going to start there. Hi there, group 1.
Hi.
So we're going to just move these text boxes around and see if we can make sense of some different categories. So you can just grab one and start moving it.
And are we grabbing it from slide 15? Is that right?
So you'll grab it from slide 17. I've made you a
17.
duplicate slide here, and this is assigned to group 1. Very good question.
Which one is ours?
Hi there, group 2. I see you're on slide 18, and you can move these little text boxes all around so that you can kind of make clusters. So which ones go together, just kind of move them together and see if you can title them.
Group 2 and slide 18. Here we are. Okay.
Hi there, Group 3. I see you all are on slide 19. Feel free to turn on your microphones and talk about why you're choosing to move that text box to the location that you're moving it. What do they have in common?
I don't really know why we're moving things to certain places.
Good question. I think I could have done a better job explaining that. We are doing what's called an open sort, and it's something that teachers commonly do in a classroom where you might have index cards with a couple topics on them, and you would sort them into piles based on ways and similarities. And then that pile gets a title, whether that title is a historical time period or all graphs in math that have to do with the same thing. It's a way for students to summarize and categorize. Hi, Claire. Welcome to the session. Right now, our participants are in breakout rooms, and they are looking at slides 17, 18, and 19 of this presentation. This video will be live later on, but if you would like to see kind of what they're doing and why they're doing it, we are grouping together ideas that we know about, in this case, coronavirus, because that's our content today. And they're participating in something called an open sort. Hi, Claire. I can see your hand up. Did you want to turn your microphone on?
Yes, hi, thank you. I'm sorry I'm late and I'm going through your slides right now. And so I really, really appreciate them as well as the other slides that you've added to that. I'm looking at expectation slides and parking lot. So I really appreciate it so much, Teresa.
Sure thing. This is what I do regularly, so I'm happy to share.
Okay, great. So I'll get off of this and I'll continue to go through the slides that you generously provided.
Yeah, you are also welcome to stay on. The timer's about to go off, and I'm going to pull them in the main room, and you're welcome to just join along with us if you'd like.
Okay, I'll do that. Thanks.
Welcome back to the main room. Please check your microphone and turn it off at this point. Welcome back to the main room. Please turn off your microphone at this point. Sometimes your microphones are left on from the breakout session, so I just try and let people know so that we don't hear their background noise. All right, folks, so you just participated originally on the tweet board, which was kind of a brainstorming activity. And then you did a tweet board sort, which is now bringing up the rigor for your classroom. Now you have to read everybody's, you have to categorize them, you have to summarize and synthesize. And now we're going to see the differences that people have done here. Slide 20 is the expectations for our interactive gallery walk. There are so many ways you can interact. When you look at other folks' slides, you can choose to write comments. You could use the scribble tool, copy and paste some stars, or highlight. You can even use emojis to let them know what you think about the slide that they created. So take a minute, try out some of these tools, and look at the other ways that students created these slides. If you're curious about how to use some of these tools also, I am recording this session, so hopefully that'll give you some more ideas. And you can copy and paste any of those emojis if you see a reason to put it next to somebody's sort. So what I'm modeling here is specific ways for other students to interact. Instead of their work just being theirs or their groups, now they're going to other group slides and they're looking for similarities and differences. They're commenting on those, they're highlighting those, and they're making connections here. Those of you who teach English language learners, this is huge in that they can, practice reading, but on their own level, at their own pace. Sometimes there's a whole lot of information out there, but it becomes accessible in that there's student choice about how they interact and what level they interact, and that there's always a space for them to write and have their own opinion. Sorry. You want to sit here for a minute or you want to go back in there? Adrian, go ahead.
This has just been a little bit of my reality, teaching immature sophomores usually. Either directly or indirectly, students deliberately will either write something inappropriate or they will mark up someone else's slide when they're in groups, not so much when it's a specific graded assignment, but when they're sort of communicating back and forth. Is there a way to lock screens so that they can't eliminate what someone has written, even though they write over it?
There's a couple things you can do in terms of accountability here. And so some of it is folks who teach high school have told me that frequently they carry over the same behavior policy that they have in their classroom with online. If you have Google Classroom, instead of these anonymous avatars, you will be able to see your student's name or photo or whatever their avatar is. And you can kind of use that in your accountability. And one thing that I've heard from folks who do this in the high school is that at first, sometimes that happens, but then they realize that since they're not really your slides as a teacher, they're a community slide, the better you support that community in being calm and being patient with it, the more they just realize that that is their space to, put things out that are appropriate for class, but it's not 100%. I'm happy to support you and chat more about, accountability purposes, things that you can do for that. But it's part of their reality too. So yeah, I think if you have them log into Google, either through Google Classroom or their own uh, link, you'll be able to see who is in which space. All right, folks, so that was modeling how to do an interactive gallery walk. Um, I have just a couple other kind of show me slides. We're not going to do too much more interaction because our time is running out. But on slide 21, this is the slide I include every single new class. So if I have a new cohort of students or a brand new class, I give them this. It is a way for them to introduce themselves to the group, but really, it's kind of a sneaky way for me to check the pre-assessment of online tools. Do they know how to make a text box? Do they know how to copy and paste clip art online? Do they know how to snap a picture of their work from their phone and upload that to a slide? These are very basic skills, but also very important skills in collaborating. So you can use this, you can change it up however you like. And if you want to test it out, you've got slide 22 to go ahead and put some ideas on. And that's all I give students is a blank slide. And I say, good luck, see what you can do. And they always surprise me. On slide 23, this is a problem from my math class. If you're looking to see what do students really add to slides? It was an algebra class where they are trying to continue this pattern. Slide 24, there was a YouTube video that connects literacy to math with this problem. And slides 25 through 28 are actual pieces of student work. This is their 4th time ever being online. So this is the work that they were able to come up with after 4 sessions. I hope being able to see this work has inspired you to realize that you can have very collaborative classes in the synchronous online environment. I know you probably have lots of questions. So at this time, our official time slot of learning new information is finished. You're welcome to log off if you don't have questions, but I will stay on now and answer questions as they come in and also take a look at that virtual parking lot to see what questions you might have. I'll post these online soon and send you emails when they are available live so you can see how I man my computer during the lesson. Thanks everyone for coming and feel free to ask questions.
Thanks for hosting this. This is very helpful.
You're very welcome. I hope you're inspired with a couple ideas here.
Thank you. This was really helpful and wonderful. We really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thanks for coming and feel free to share the word.
I have a question. Should I raise my hand?
Oh, you can do either. Yeah, go ahead, Darcy.
So this is very seamless, and I really like it. I'm just curious, as far as the platform that you recommend we use to be able to communicate, talking to our students like this, would they use the Synchronous? I don't exactly know what platform to use. If you have anything to say about that.
Sure, and I think right now that is a very good question for the community. I've been using Collaborate Ultra, which is what you're using right now with me, and I've been using that back since way before it was part of Blackboard and it was called Illuminate Live. There's other free conferencing tools, and currently I believe Zoom, I'm going to put that in the text box, is offering some free licenses for educators. And so if your school system does not already subscribe to Blackboard, you might check out Zoom. But Blackboard Collaborate, I find, is very intuitive. It's not very clunky. It works in a lot of situations. So that's the one that I choose to use. I see in the virtual parking lot, there's a question about accountability. Um, and sometimes I will include slides like this one. I'm going to put it on slide 43 just so you can see. I'll ask you to put, what you teach and name, and it's kind of like having your thoughts out there publicly. So I might put down, and so I've got my name out there. I'm always able to kind of revert back if things are deleted. But again, that's one thing that I haven't seen too much of is deleting of slides. I know that capability is out there and it's scary for us educators. So, we're still working with how does that look? What happens if someone does that? Oftentimes it's just edit undo. But you can also save slideshows. If you're going to have them put a lot of information in, save it as a copy and just have that as a backup. We are still exploring that area, but that's one tip. Also, you'll notice the avatars right now are all anonymous. I choose to use anonymous when I want students to get very real and not feel like I know who they are. That might not work in your situation. So you might have them actually log in an account. I'll continue to add to this accountability. I usually have a few more ideas, but not off the top of my head today. I've been up a lot with this. So I'll leave this here and I will continue to answer it and you'll be able to see it updating throughout today and the next couple days with other ideas. Someone wrote, are students assigned avatars? So you know who it is. If they're logged into Google, which you can allow them to, you can share your Google Slides and they would have to log in as them. I'll try and do a quick little video on how to do that so that educators can see.
That would be really helpful. I would love to know how to do that.
Sure. So whoever that is, let's see, I don't want you to put your email address publicly. I'm going to, I'll make a video of that because I don't know how to answer that one really quickly. But I'll leave that up here and get that out soon. In terms of assignments, someone wrote that one there. I love doing synchronous instruction and synchronous collaborative assignments together because it mimics what I do in the classroom. There's a lot of ways students could do things independently. And if you're curious about more independent stuff, you might check out asynchronous. I just put that in the chat box there. Asynchronous is kind of work at your own pace or at a designated time to turn in. But sometimes students need to be able to talk it over with group members or work together as a team, and that's one of the affordances of synchronous online learning. Someone wrote out about the tabs and how you have them lined up. I am actually just about to post a video in a few minutes that shows I actually have two windows open and they're staggered. And so I can see the chat box, I can see my microphone, and I can see the Google Slides. Stay tuned. That one's coming out within the next couple hours. I have it already. I just need to publish it. So hopefully that tip will help. Any other questions? I'm sure there's a lot. I think this session is a little bit like drinking water from a fire hose, but hopefully it's inspiring and gives you ideas.
Are you posting the videos on that first slide that you showed us? Is that where the videos will be?
I'm going to send an email out just like you got this link, but you can also follow me on Twitter where I'll post them. My thing is at Theresa Wills. Yeah, I'm still kind of learning. I posted my first YouTube video 2 days ago. So if you have
Okay.
suggestions for me, I'm very open. I've always taught synchronous online, so this is a normal thing for me, but the social media and the YouTube is very new.
Okay. All right. Great. No, that'll be great. Twitter will be easy. Thank you so
Sure
much.
thing. Yes, that question, what suggestions do you have for multiple screens and windows? I'm going to get that one out within the next couple hours. So hopefully that little tip will help you out. You're very welcome, Darcy. Thanks for coming. I hope you're inspired. Oh, Claire, my Twitter slides, that actually just came up as a joke one day. Somebody said, please don't write a whole paragraph on the slide. There's not enough room for all of us. And so they said, why don't you do it as a tweet, like a cap of 100, what is it, 60, 40, some kind of characters? And so that's just the ongoing joke with my students that they kind of developed. So it does not actually go out to Twitter, but we've just kind of gone with it because it's fun.